Tonight, we're going to pretty much sum up, this class sums up everything else we've been learning up to this point. When we spoke about judging people favorably, we spoke about anger, we spoke about, what else we speak about? Revenge, bearing a grudge, of speaking well, and I guess this is really the string that kind of like ties it all together, and the discussion fits in very nicely with the Hanukkah theme, and it is happiness, simcha. To be happy. And would you think most people in our generation would consider themselves to be very happy, somewhat happy, a little happy, or unhappy? What do you think? What do you think most people are? Call out, what do you think? A little bit happy. Yeah? Somewhat happy, very happy? How many people think most people out there are very happy? So the statistics seem to say that most people in our generation yes, they are unstable, Matan, we know that. That's the reason why they're somewhat happy. But we're going to stabilize them because we believe in Judaism that you can bring happiness to your life. And interestingly enough, we'll see there are a lot of Jewish sources on this. We're going to look at some of them. We'll start with a study from the American Psychological Association. And there it made a comparison between Americans in 1957. Those are the days of happy days, actually, quite conveniently. I don't. Maybe it's that. Remember Happy Days? Anybody? Am I aging myself with this one? Good. Yeah. Mike's good. Right. Sunday, Monday, Happy Days. Okay. So today, compared to them, who seemed happy days, we have twice as many cars per person, eat out twice as often. We enjoy various other commodities that went around then: big screen TVs, microwaves, SUVs, handheld devices, name a few. Are we happier? Seemingly, according to most research out there, we are not. Seemingly, how much we have doesn't seem to be having much impact, maybe a little impact, but not enough impact on our state of happiness. There was a course, I don't know if it's still being taught, by a guy called Tal Shachar, an Israeli, at Harvard University, and he actually wrote a book based upon his course called, I actually have it. Is it Happier or just Happy or Happiness? I think it was Happier. And he made a whole course of it. And suppose this was actually the biggest course at Harvard University. You would have thought at Harvard they want to learn about good business skills or diplomatic skills. But people have this inner need and desire to learn about how to be happy. And people with strong materialistic values, says the study, appear to have goal orientations that may lead to poorer well-being. Okay? As this psychologist from Knox College, wherever that is, and he describes his and others' research showing that when people organize their lives around extrinsic goals, such as product acquisition, which is what pretty much our society is based upon if you think about it, and I'm just as guilty with my iPhone, they report greater unhappiness in relationships, poorer moods, and more psychological problems. We're going to see why that is. I'm going to throw out a hypothesis, nothing too radical as to why that is. There is a very famous psychologist, psychiatrist, I should say, by the name of Viktor Frankl. Anyone heard of him? So he's got an interesting guy. He survived the Holocaust, and he came to the United States, came to New York, and he found a very unusual thing happened. He said he was a psychiatrist before the Holocaust, so he said, you know what? I'm going to do the same thing I was doing before. So what he did was he took a shingle, this is how I used to work, put it with his name on, psychiatrist is in, put it on his door, and on the Upper East Side of Manhattan. And he started to have, this is back in the, I think it was 1960s, I believe, clients come to his sessions to seek counsel from him. And he describes in his book a very interesting thing. He describes how he'd sit down with people after people, and he would ask them questions. So, tell me about your life. Are you married? Yes. Good marriage? Yeah. Kids? Yeah. Everyone healthy? Yes. You make an income? Yeah, I do well. What's wrong? I'm depressed. And he met person after person, let's be honest, probably Jew after Jew, and he found that all these people had all these wonderful things, and remember he was just coming out of the Holocaust, so he was astounded by this, and then he realized there was something missing from their life. Do you know what he discovered? That they were missing his meaning. And then he wrote a book called Man's Search for Meaning, which was a bestseller. And he realized that these people had all the wonderful extrinsic things that we would say bring happiness. And they do help. I'm not going to pretend that they don't help. We all want to have health. We want to have a good income. We want to have successful jobs and careers. We want to have families who are healthy. That's obvious. But once we have that, and when we grow up with that as being our sole goal, there is going to be something missing. And according to Viktor Frankl, it was the idea of having meaning in your life, hence the book. And then he wrote an additional book, The Unheard Cry for Meaning. I did not read that book. I got this excerpt from it, but I did read the first one. And he says, man is always reaching out for meaning, always setting out on his search for meaning. In other words, what I call the will to meaning is even to be regarded as our primary concern. And he's saying, really, that's what we are. We are not people who want flat screen TVs. We like them. And we're not people who want the iPhone 4S. We are people who are intrinsically wanting meaning in our lives. That is the essence of who we humans are. Okay? That's who we are in essence. And that, he says, will lead us to happiness. One of my great teachers, his name is Rabbi Akiva Tatz, and I got this in one of his classes. I used to go to his classes 15, 20 years ago when I was studying in Israel for a few years in yeshiva. He's actually a doctor from South Africa. He moved to Israel and actually now to London. And he gave what I've used as the four-path model, based upon what we just said, from Jewish eyes, of how we, the Jewish people, look for happiness. And he defines happiness and the response when you feel you are, number one, moving towards a meaningful destination. I just sat down today with someone, and this person is a wonderful person and, pretty miserable in his job. And I said, tell me, do you have a goal in life? Well, you're in your late 20s. Do you have a goal in life? And he had some, I actually don't. I'm like, no goal to get married, have kids, own a house, white picket fence, 2.2 children. Where's that 0.2 child, by the way? Look at that, just like slice enough. Is that what you're looking for? Do you have that? And it's like, I never really thought about that. So I'm like, so basically you're putting your entire life in your job, which you're miserable in now, and now you're wondering why you're upset in life. You see, people need to have a certain goal, a meaningful destination that means something to them. Now, whether you actually fulfill it or not is not the point. There needs to be a certain destination, a goal that you have in your life. But that's not enough. You need to be on the right path to get there. So if your goal is, I want to be a multi-billionaire, which could be a person's goal, so you could have an incorrect path of wanting to rob banks, or learning how to invest well in business, for example, okay? So there has to be a right path and a wrong path. You need to have the correct path in order to get there. Number three, and this is very, very important, and I hear this a lot from people, and we all suffer from this, is we need some resistance. We have this idea in our heads, and this, by the way, goes bigger than just careers. Talk about all relationships. There needs to be some resistance. And we learn this from working out, right? Those people who ever have worked out, using weights, right? Standing there in the gym with the 1 pound weight doesn't do anything for you. Although you see these old Jewish ladies in the gym with 1 pound weight, like heaving and huffing and puffing. Maybe for them, 1 pound is resistance. But for most of us, we need to really pick that up. In my case, 10 pounds. And when we're heaving and puffing on those weights, there is resistance. Resistance equals muscle growth. See, when you're on the treadmill, you can have one of those people who are slowly, like on the treadmill, with a towel around their neck, spend half an hour talking to the receptionist. The person in like the sweatpants, like talking to the receptionist with a towel around their neck. Who is that person? Do they work for the gym? Are they employees there? He's a fascinating individual, right? So those people, when they get on there, they're just like schmoozing around there. That's all well and good. And so how's your gym? Yeah, I was in the gym for an hour, like you were. You were in the gym for 2 minutes, right? You schmoozed for 58 minutes, and that's all you did. Because naturally we need resistance. We need it in order to grow, and that works emotionally and socially, and especially in personal relationships. So in order to have happiness, there needs to be resistance. And finally, and maybe most importantly, you need to have progress. Many people I find are thrashing it out in one area, and they're pushing and pushing to have a goal. But if you are making some progress, it could be that thing isn't for you. You hear? It could be a relationship you're in, and you keep pushing and pushing, and at some point you have to say, that's enough. There's only so much suffering I can take. At some point you have to, if you aren't making any progress, that could be that. There's the 4 points to happiness, and everything we're going to say is going to kind of fall inside those 4 points. But I think that's a very important 4-point model. And by the way, I really wish they would have taught me this in high school. I mean, they don't teach us this stuff. Now, I don't know about other society. I know in Jewish society, in yeshiva, they do. Right? They do. There is this idea of looking for a deeper meaning in life. But your average person who goes to high school, I mean, we have teachers here, is this something we speak about, finding life goals and meaning in life, and I don't know, accomplishments? Or maybe we do. Maybe we need to make a course out of it. I don't know. I think that just teaching children how to think in terms of statistics and geography is important, but I think I would have benefited a lot from this. Even at college level, it would help out as well. Okay, but never too late. So first thing we have to know about this world is the world was given to us, and it's a gift. It's a gift in Judaism. This world isn't something to be taken for granted. Everything in this world is there to make us happy. Right? As the famous question they always ask the guru, right? Why is the sky blue? You ever had that question? One day you're going to have kids, and they're going to say to you, why is the sky blue? And by the way, you know you're not living in England because the sky is always gray in England, okay? Which is why people are actually depressed after. There was actually a study that English people are depressed because the sky is gray all the time. But let's say we're here in America. Even when it's cold, you get a blue sky. Why is the sky blue? Anybody know? It's a very childish question. Ever think about that? As a child, you did, and then you were probably told to shut up. And the answer is because blue makes you happy. It's a natural color. You look up at the sky, right? It goes in, and it lodges somewhere in your brain and your psychological makeup and makes you a happy person. It puts you in a good mood, right? That's a gift. That is something that is actually there. So the whole world actually is actually there somehow to make you happy. And the people who come along and try to make you unhappy are not part of your world plan. And this was made by a very great rabbi who actually died very recently. He had, I believe, 100,000 people at his funeral. His name was Rabbi Nosson Tzvi Finkel, one of the great rabbinic leaders in Israel. And he actually quotes a deeper source, the Mesillat Yesharim, and says, man was created to derive pleasure from the Almighty. He says, that's what we're here for. Ultimately, a real goal, we have to see why. We may walk around like smiling retards. That doesn't seem that's the idea. We're meant to, however, live in a state of happiness. And by the way, let's make a distinction. Just because you're happy doesn't mean you're smiling all the time. I know many people who are very, very happy people, and yet they don't always smile. And I know people always smiling, and they're not so happy. Many times I talk to people, and they tell me about troubles in their lives, and while they're talking to me about these terrible trials they're going through, they start laughing. I mean, it's nervous laughter, but if you look at it as the outside, I think, oh, they're happy. Actually, they're pretty miserable. Yeah? So the two are not always synonymous, okay? However, this world is here for pleasure, and this pleasure does not only refer to the next world. I've mentioned this before many times. Judaism does not focus on the next world. Is there a next world? Yes, the soul goes somewhere after it leaves the body. But we are expected to find happiness in this world right now. Okay? Every person is surrounded by limitless potential for pleasure and enjoyment. As we've said before many times, the question is when, with whom, why, and how. Once you've answered those questions correctly, and you can check with me if you haven't, then you can enjoy the pleasure of this world. The world in all its details is a source of pleasure. A person's experiences in physical and spiritual areas, given the potential for happiness without end. That's a Jewish view. It's not just talking nicely over here. Right? It's not a fridge magnet. Right? That is actually the Jewish view. And it's based upon the Ramchal. If a person finds, there's Moshe Chaim Luzzatto, he was an Italian Kabbalist, actually, 400 years ago, and wrote some classic books which are available in English as well, very deep and very beautiful. And he says if a person finds that he lacks inner drive and zeal, a technique that he can use that will generate this inner feelings to behave externally in such a manner as if he already feels enthusiasm. Okay, so this is based upon another Jewish concept. So first we have this amazing world around us, we try to enjoy it, fine. Then there's this other idea which we're going to apply to all other areas, which sounds unusual and it sounds a little fake, but if you act happy, you become happy. Okay? If you act happy, you become happy. If you surround yourself with people and are always in a happy mood, even if you are not, and we're going to see actually in Judaism, it is an obligation to fake it, right, until you make it, that is going to help you along the way, which is why, interestingly enough, the commentators say this is based upon another concept, that all the mitzvot involve actions. You have to do something. Right? If you're always trying to think happy, it's not going to happen. You've actually got to do something and to help. And this is based upon an idea, our external actions have an effect on our inner feelings. Okay, we have more control of our actions than our emotions, he says, and therefore, in order to build inner joy, we need to do happy. Okay? Not just think or feel it. And that is why there's a director of psychology, I listened to a lot of his lectures, and he mentioned in a lecture, which you can hear online, that researchers found that happiness is largely determined by the three F's. Okay, the three F's. They are, number one, look at that, he's really giving you money there. Martin, look at that. Skylar's like, you know what, I'm not happy over here, I've got to give you money, okay. Research has shown that happiness is largely determined by the three F's, which are family, gotta love your family, your friends, and your faith. Okay, let's go through each of those very briefly, just to get a feeling on it. First of all, family. And of course, it's a given that in Judaism, we put a lot of emphasis on working and building a happy family. If we don't come from happy families, then we want to create happy families for ourselves and our children. That we definitely do have a choice on. And the Rambam Maimonides says, in his book called Guide for the Perplexed, and if you've ever read it before, it should be called The Guide to How to Become Perplexed. The Torah greatly encourages showing closeness and kindness to one's family members. The sages strongly praise one who shows close to his relatives. This strengthening of family ties is one of the most important objectives of the Torah. As we said before, and I'll say it again, Judaism is not a religion, it's a relationship. Okay, we mentioned that before, and it's very, very true right now. We're always about building relationships with ourselves, with our family, we'll see, with God. And that is why from the earliest age, a child sees themselves as a greater family. In other words, every Jew grows up seeing themselves as part of a small, what we call nuclear family. I always wonder why they use that expression, nuclear. When I was a kid, I remember hearing that for the first time. Does anyone know what the nuclear family was? And I was like, is that a family like in Chernobyl that got like blown up or something? I never understood it. Why were they? And if you grew up in a Jewish family, it makes sense because sometimes things go nuclear. So maybe that's the right description. Whoever wrote that expression down, some sociologist somewhere in some deep, dark cavern wrote that down. Maybe that's the right expression. There's a nuclear family. An extended family is the megaton bomb family. I don't know. Okay, I apologize about that one. So yes, so every child grows up with this nuclear family. It's important. But we also grow up with a larger family called the Jewish people. Okay, and that's actually a very important part of our life. Okay, and feels a connection. And there are, interesting enough, specific laws that apply to our nuclear family, and there's specific laws that apply to our greater community, and then there are laws that apply to the general Jewish population in our country, and then the Jewish people in Israel, the Jewish people around the world. It's like a bullseye, concentric circles. It starts from the inside and then goes outwards, and then you can care about the rest of the world. But we want to work on the family first. If every community were to do that, and every race, every nation, I think we'd be in a very, very good place, okay? Parents should also involve their children in the spiritual and ethical content that distinguishes the particular family as well as the Jewish people in general. Okay? This adds to a sense of being somewhere. Now, okay, I was going to say something, I'm not going to say it, but I will say something related to it, and that is some people who grew up with different faiths in the house. I've spoken to a number of them, which many people here as well. It can be troublesome for many children, okay? I have found that many people who don't grow up with one faith, many people think they'll bring the kids up with various faiths, okay? And they're able to choose which one they want to do. Those families I have found, this is purely from my own personal perspective. I've not seen any science on this, I don't think anyway, any statistics on this, but many people who grew up with multiple faiths in the house, as in the child being brought up with all of them, right? The Christmas tree with a Magen David on top may sound wonderful and nice and fluffy. It's actually a very bad thing for the children, okay? No matter which one it is, every child needs to be brought up with one distinct, unique faith. Just pick one, for God's sakes, right? You're thinking, you know what, but hey, it's okay. It's all power of, try a bit of this, try a bit of that, like a smorgasbord. Right, it's like fast food. Just pick one of those, little burger, a bit of Judaism, a bit of Hinduism, right? A bit of Christianity. It doesn't work that way. You got to choose one, and one has to stick with it. So that is family. Let's jump into friends. So friends happen to be a big part of life, right? Man is not an island, and you're expected to surround yourself. And there's a very interesting Mishnah in Pirkei Avot, which we've quoted a lot before, and it says, "Aseh lecha rav." A person has to make for yourself a rabbi, okay? And then it says, kana lecha chaver. Now the word kana, anyone know what it means? Liknot is to buy. Actually it means to buy, yeah, thank you, Mark. It means to buy, to acquire yourself. But the word is to buy. So I've looked at the commentators on this, and why would they say you have to make for yourself a rabbi, which by the way can also be read as make yourself into a rabbi. Everyone's expected to become knowledgeable to a rabbi level. But when it comes to friends, you're told to buy your friends. So I looked at this, I was like, why would it tell you to do that? Like, buy your friends? Does it literally mean that? So I looked at the sources, and lo and behold, it's because you have to buy your friends. Some friends are bought with nice words, some friends are bought with nice favors, and some friends are bought with a nice meal, an extra gift, something. Nothing wrong with that. Kanal chaver, you need friends. Some of them come easy, and some of them come with a little bit of money and effort, which goes beyond just nice words. Not a bad thing. So even if you must spend money on them, as I brought down, this is Rav Ovadia Bar Tanura, not just a delicious wine, also a famous rabbi. It is worth it in order to get yourself a friend. That's how important friends are. And Rabbeinu Yonah, another great scholar from about 1,000 years ago, one needs good friends for several purposes, he says. One benefit is that of receiving sound advice, as we said before. Friends are not there just, oh, yeah, oh, that's great. Are you with him? Oh, he's fantastic. Oh, you look fantastic in that dress. I like the way it like drags behind you and what you've done with your hair, the big bow thing, it's fabulous. That's not a friend. Okay, friends are there to give you constructive criticism. When one is a good friend, is able to take counsel with and seek assistance in all areas, a friend is also your confidant. That's the idea of having friends. Usually, in times of hardship, you'll see who your true friends are. So make a distinction between acquaintances and true friends. Okay, when you're in high school, you have a whole bunch. At college, like, hey, everyone's my friend. Right? That's because you have a keg of beer behind you. However, when it comes to real life, usually it's only a few people. Okay, you become your true, confident friends. And ultimately, your spouse is actually meant to become your best friend. And one thing I've heard from many people who've been married a long time is, and say, what's the source of your good marriage? Okay, and they will say that my partner is my best friend. Okay, and they actually mean it. They're not saying that for brownie points. Or maybe they are a little bit, but fine. And so that's family, friends, and finally, and just as important, that is faith. Okay, having faith. Okay, now, faith can be understood in many, many ways, can't it? You have faith in God, obviously. We have faith in each other, faith in our friends, faith in our families, faith when things get difficult. This is a key point. One of the leaders of the last generation, when the Chazon Ish lived in Eretz Yisrael, wrote a book called Faith and Trust. A very thin book. It's available in English. Emunah B'tachon, I have it. It is well worth reading. He was a great scholar, but you know, they say the greater the scholar is, the easier the book to read. You ever had that concept before? Right? Like I had a great sociology professor. He taught me this idea. He gave me a sociology book, a thick one, by I don't know why I remember the name. A guy called Talcott Parsons. You ever heard of him? Okay, no sociologists over there. Fine. So he was like one of the great sociologists. It was the most jargonized book ever. So you think the guy's smart. And maybe he was, but if you can't verbalize things in an easy, clear fashion, then you're not so smart. Smart people are smart and able to communicate ideas to people like us who aren't like that. So he wrote a very simple and clear book, which I highly recommend. And he says that once a person's intellect reaches a recognition of truth of God's existence, he's immediately filled with boundless, ecstatic joy. It's part of a much bigger essay, but that's his punchline. And the idea is if you accept there is a God in the world, and you accept that nothing happens by coincidence, and there's a reason for things, there's a meaning to life, the universe, and everything, and it's not just the number 42. Okay, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Anybody? Okay, 3 nods over there, and the rest of you have no idea what I'm talking about. So there was a famous book, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and they had a computer. They had to figure out the secret of the universe and everything in it, and the number after like millions of years. What? Life University, and the number they came to, the answer was, they had this computer for millions of years, and eventually they put what is the universe all about, and the answer was 42. Right? Douglas Adams. What's actually interesting is that 42, and by the way, he was asked this by someone, I saw an interview, happens to be the Jewish answer to the Life University. There's actually a 42-letter name of God. Right? There is a name of God that has got 42 letters in, that was actually said by the high priest, the Kohen Gadol, on Yom Kippur, in the Holy of Holies, and has within it all other wisdom. If you understand that name, you understood everything. So, coincidentally, he happens to have got the right answer. It is 42. Okay, we'll leave that now. And if you want to see that name of God, there's a famous prayer called the Ana B'choach prayer, and we say it actually every morning and a Friday night as well. And the first letter, it's got 42 words in this prayer. You take the first letter of those 42, and usually they actually take the letters out, put it in a column next to it, so you can't say it, glance over it. There's actually the 42-letter name of God somehow permeated in there. If you want to read what God's full name is, whatever that means. Okay. So once you have this realization, there's a purpose and a meaning to life, he says, ultimately that will give you, he actually says something else interestingly, which relates to this. He says that one of the greatest joys and happiness you're going to feel is resolution of a doubt, of which this is part of. And he says actually that's the reason why people are so happy at weddings. At a wedding, people are happy. I mean, I do a lot of weddings, thank God. Actually, since September, I've done 8 weddings. All JC people, thank God. And when I'm under the chuppah, you have a feeling of happiness that's there. I mean, what is it exactly? I mean, is it the cake? Is it the food? Nobody remembers the food at a wedding. Before you spend $200 a head, they don't remember, right? Serve them pizza. What do they remember? They won't care. What they do, you can't do that or your mother will kill you, right? What do they remember? The atmosphere, right? And at a good Jewish wedding, the dancing. Now you remember the atmosphere, you remember what you had. I don't remember what I ate at my wedding, but I remember the dancing and the feeling, the simcha. And by the way, there's a specific mitzvah to bring joy to the chatan and kala, the bride and groom at the wedding. That is actually the mitzvah of everyone there. Do you know how you fulfill that mitzvah? By going over to them and saying, wow, she is fantastic. This girl, I mean, you have struck gold. Even, says the Gemara, if she is the biggest loser, right, that looks like something that came out of Kabul last week. And nothing against anyone from Kabul. I take that back, okay? If there's any people from Kabul, I apologize, okay? Ooh, judging quickly, right? You know what I'm saying? Some far-off country where, okay, whatever. And you're going to say, well, she's just fantastic. I can't believe how beautiful. I mean, just look, she just came out of a war. You know, she's fantastic. And you're going to say to her, this guy, awesome guy. Awesome. I mean, every girl he dated says he's fantastic. Well, oh, that's not possible? Okay, fine. Yes, this guy, he's so nice and kind and giving. I mean, that's how you fulfill it, right? You actually do it. But what is the happiness that comes? So it's the atmosphere for what you say and the music and dancing, but I'm going to share something else with you. It's resolution of a doubt. Meaning what? Because up to now, this bride and groom did not know who they're going to end up with. Who's going to be my life partner? Where's my life going to go? So this big doubt that has been weighing this young Jewish boy and this young Jewish girl, or anyone else for that matter, for all their years, for whatever it is, the 18 years, okay, 25, 28, 30, 40 years that they've been single, suddenly it all comes to an end. That feeling of resolving a doubt, but that idea actually travels right through life. Whenever you resolve a doubt, you feel tremendous happiness, okay? So, and doubts only resolve when you have a doubt. You with me? There has to be questions in order to feel that. Okay. There is another idea in Judaism, which I'll throw at you as well, and that is in Judaism, we are very, very keen to find happiness by focusing on your gifts, on what you have, and not on what you are missing. This is a lesson I try to teach my children, but not on Hanukkah, because my children focus on the gifts they're receiving and not the gifts they're giving away. But I will tell you a story. Can I tell you a story? I wasn't going to tell you this, but it happened last night. True story happened last night. I was at home for the first night of Hanukkah, and I was lighting with my kids. And of course, they're all excited because they're about to get a copious amount of gifts from their mother and father, eat enough donuts to last a year, and enough chocolate coins to start their own chocolate bank with. So we were there, and I light them, and everyone's excited. It's Hanukkah theme. And there was a ring at the doorbell, a little bit late, you know, and we open the door, and there's a collector. Right? In our community, people come around once in a while, and they collect money for various charities and various functions. So we invite the guy in, and he'd been a couple of times. I hadn't been able to help him, but he came in this time. So, you know, I say, hey, come and sit down. You ought to be nice to the guy. What are you collecting for? So he shows me the file. He's collecting for this place in, I think it was in Israel, right, for handicapped kids or something. I remember he showed pictures, whatever, and they had a whole file, and he's got approbations from various rabbis of the community, so it's legitimate and signed and sealed, all the rest of it. So he sits down, I take out the checkbook, right? I write 25 mil, okay, fine. So I write down a little check, right? I said, this is all I can do, you know what I'm saying? I'm just a so I give him the check. And then I'm like, oh, but, you know, before you go, take a donut. We had lots of donuts, so I'll take a donut. So he's like, thank you, I will. And he picks it up, and we thank each other, and he leaves, like with a plastic thing with a donut in. And my daughter says to me, she's like, what'd you give him a donut for? She's like, she was incredulous. She's like, what'd you give him a donut for? Like this. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, we have lots of donuts. But that was our donut. So, and my wife and I look at each other, and it's a true story. So we're like, I said, Racheli, you have to understand that this donut gives us joy. We enjoy it. And my wife said, this is her answer, she says, this donut we enjoy for 2 minutes. But the donut we just gave away, we will receive happiness for the rest of our lives. Interesting. Had you eaten that donut? She didn't fall for it, by the way. She's still upset. But it was worth happening so I could describe it to you. Right? Many times in life, we can focus on what we have, but you eat the donut and it's gone. Right? And a moment on the lips, a lifetime on the hips. Okay, we know the results of the excessive donut eating at the same time. Actually, one of my friends told me his whole theory where we don't usually have donuts on Hanukkah because they're very, very oily. Right? So he says no. The reason we have donuts is that we get big and fat, so we don't look like the Greeks, we look like Jews, right? Because if we get too muscly, we'll be like the Greeks, like the Olympians. The whole point is we've got to remain looking Jewish. You hear what I'm saying? Okay. So I told my daughter, my wife said, so this will be with us for the rest of our life, and in the next world as well. We'll always have the pleasure that a guy came in and we gave him something, and that is worth more than the 2 minutes. So focus on your gifts, not what you are missing. That's true story happened last night. And this is based upon another mission of Pirkei Avot, which we visited a lot in this course, as the Talmud teaches. Who is the wealthy person? Miha Ashir, the one who is happy, b'chelko, with their portion. Now, this could be misunderstood, okay? Because it seems to be saying you're happy with your possessions, but that's not what it's saying. It's saying that you're happy with what you have, whether that be $1, whether it be $1,000, whether it be $1 million, whether it be $1 trillion, right? Whatever it is, you've got to be happy. I happen to personally know 6 multi-millionaires. Millionaires are not enough nowadays. Who isn't a millionaire nowadays, right? Well, I'm not. But I happen to know 6 or 7 personally well, and I would say about 4 of them are pretty damn miserable, to be honest with you. You know. And funny, I keep saying that, and I keep repeating it, I keep thinking it, I know it's true, but I still want to be a millionaire, right? I can't, you know what I'm saying? So, okay, whatever. So, this idea of wealth is now, let me show you a little cute thing over here. What's the word for wealthy in Judaism? And know the word for wealth is ashir. Ayin, shin, yud, resh. And ashir is to be, ashirut is wealth. Okay, so ashir is a wealthy person. So that's a very, very interesting word because it's made up of 4 letters, ayin, shin, yud, resh. So one of the commentators says that breaks down into 4 things. How do you say an eye in Hebrew? Ayin, right? How do you say a tooth? Shein. How do you say a hand? Yad. How do you say a foot? It's a regal, ashir. Okay. I mean, you wouldn't give your hand away for $1 million. You wouldn't give your eye away for $1 billion, I hope. You wouldn't give your foot away, right? By the way, I don't ask this to guys because they'd be like, $1 billion, I'll hop. Okay, but most normal people would say, I wouldn't do that. Why? So we're basically, when you agree to that, you're actually saying, I'm a walking billionaire. But we don't look at the world that way. When in Judaism, at least once a day, for a few moments, we're meant to see the world that way. Right? We're meant to, just for a few moments, go through life like that is very difficult because, listen, we focus on what we don't have. But once in a while in Judaism, we focus on what we do have. As Rabbi Yehuda Halevi from the Sefer Kuzari, a classic book, talks about it. He says, it's actually a very interesting book. You know, heard of the book Kuzari? It's well worth reading. Some say it's fictional, some say it's real, about the Khazars. Khazars is a region in like the Azerbaijan area, and there was a city there, supposedly by a non-Jewish king who had a non-Jewish population, and he brought a rabbi, a mullah, a Muslim priest, and a Christian priest, and made them have a debate together to see whose religion is true. And he says that whoever wins the debate, myself and the entire kingdom will become the religion of the winner of this debate. And this book, the Kuzari, actually has the arguments, and it's considered a Jewish classic, by the way, the argument between these 3 individuals, the rabbi, the priest, and the Muslim priest as well, backwards and forwards. And in the end, the king makes a decision that the rabbi won the debate based upon the Jewish theological arguments, and that entire population converted. Some say it's mythical, but I had a student from Azerbaijan, and she said, yeah, the city's near me, and it's like a known story that was passed down. So whether it's true or not true, happily the book is very, very interesting and is in conversation form, called the Kuzari. There are many people out there today, by the way, if you look this up on the web, there's many crazy people out there, you may have realized, and they say that all Jews today are not real Jews, they're descendants of these Khazars. You've heard this expression? Just Ashkenazi when they say, aha, okay, that's possible then. No, I'm joking. Right, so they say that the Jews today, well, they say the Jews in Israel are not the real Jews, they're descendants of the Khazars. This is what they're referring to, and that's obviously complete drivel. But the book is true, and it may have actually been a true thing, but it's well worth reading. And he says there's a specific mitzvah, this is part of the conversation of the rabbi speaking, that obligates us to rejoice with what we have. And that is the verse where it says, and you shall rejoice, right? V'samachta, you have to be happy with all the tov, all the good that you have. Okay, at some point, it's a childish story, but I tell it to my kids, but it's worth this. And sometimes the childish stories have a lot of depth to them. You know, the guy who goes to the rabbi, who's complaining that his house is too small, too many kids in the house, like me a few months ago. He's complaining, and the rabbi says, no problem. What's the solution? Bring a goat into your house. It's like, what? Bring in the goat will solve everything. Brings the goat in, comes like a week later, it's crazy. And now I got the 5 kids, and I got a goat in here. He's like, no problem. Bring in a cow. It's like, what? Bring a cow into the house. Brings the cow into the house, right? And obviously Abby's like, he's going crazy. He comes back a week later, it's complete crazy now. He's like, now bring an ox. It's like, an ox? I got a cow and I got a goat. He's like, no, just bring an ox in. A week later, he's like, I'm going out of my mind. He says, no problem. Take those animals out. A week later comes back. Oh, it's fantastic. So spacious. Life is so good. Right? It's a childish story. There's a little bit of depth to it. Right? A little bit of depth even to that one, yeah? The idea is we focus on what we have rather than we don't have, and we're all guilty of this, including myself. There was a great rabbi who died fairly recently, Rav Noach Weinberg, who actually made this into, he writes a lot about it, and he says there's things that you can do once in a while to help pep up your happiness. Spend an hour writing down everything which you're grateful for. Okay, by the way, in the morning, we say brachot, blessings in the morning. If you look at the blessings, I've got to a point now, unfortunately, when I first started, it was like a slow read. But now I read them, and I read through, and right? All these things, thank you, God, for helping me see. Thank God for letting me walk around. Thank you, God, for giving me clothes. These are blessings we say every morning. Unfortunately, when you get used to saying them every morning, you just read through them. But once in a while, I stop. I'm like, I am actually grateful for that. I'm usually grateful for it when it was taken away. Right? When I was like bedridden, suddenly I'm like, aha. Right? When I have an eye infection, suddenly I'm, oh, aha. Right? I can see a little bit. So when I see a blind person on the street, I think about it. I say to myself, there by the grace of God go I. You hear? It's not a bad thing to do. So being grateful for something, he speaks about that. Add a new blessing each day. Right? This is an exercise you can do if you want to, or teach it to your children. You must be conscious of all your existing blessings in order to appreciate the new ones, and try to write them down. Right? We're very good at writing down things we complain about. Right? Dear editor of the New York Times, did you really have to say that Israel apartheid? Right? So we're very good at that, but once in a while, try writing things we're grateful for. I did it once. Once. I got a parking lot, and they're very nice to me. It's very nice people. And they see me, and they joke with me. Oh, here comes the rabbi. Give me a blessing. So I charge them. No joking. So I'm going to schmooze, whatever. Once, on one occasion, they have a number, all complaints number, and every parking lot have a number. It's a true story. I called up this phone number, and I said, yes, I'd like to make a report about this particular like, okay, yes, we get the manager on the phone. Another person can be people complaining all the time, scratching your car. I said, I would like to compliment the excellent staff you have at this parking lot. I'm telling you, I could hear the woman drop the phone and faint. I'm convinced, right? She had to catch it. She's like, really? Where is this? She's like, couldn't wait to take the information to pass on to superiors. They were so grateful. So I went back the next day and I told them. Well, it was like a week later. They were so, Rabbi, happy, hugging me, saying nice things in Spanish, I hope, right? It was like, I don't know what they were saying, but they were like, it was like, I felt good. I felt good about myself, right? Write down, it's a blessing, actually nice in a parking lot, It's now I said that, they're going to scratch my car. I know it. Okay, it's my own fault. And rewrite it, write it down, think about it, things you can sense. I mean, it's part of life. Okay. So what is the happiness destroyer? What is the thing? So this is the final trait I wanted to touch upon in this course, because we've been through so many of them. This is the final one, but it does actually make the top 10 list of Judaism. Right? Dave Letterman's top 10. What is the Jewish top 10? Number 10 of the top 10 list, the Aseret Dibrot, is the only emotion you find. The only character trait or emotion, and that is lo tachmod, which means do not be jealous. Now, of all the character traits we described over the past couple of months, all of them are important. Whether it be anger or revenge or bearing a grudge, judging favorably, we did a lot of speaking well of people, we did a lot of them, yeah? This one's the only one that actually makes it directly and explicitly in the Torah, and even makes it the Ten Commandments, which, the commentators say, means it's going to be the root to all other forms of bad character traits. In other words, whatever character we described, whether it's be lashon hara, speaking bad to other people, we're getting angry, or not giving people the benefit of the doubt, it comes from this one trait, because it's the root. Remember, the Aseret Dibrot are the roots to all the other commandments. So this must be the root to all the other negative traits, yeah? Or potentially positive ones. And that is jealousy. Jealousy, being jealous. And I called it the happiness destroyer. And there was a very great scholar by the name of Eliyahu Dessler. He actually escaped the Holocaust. He had a very difficult life. He was separated from his wife and child during the entire Holocaust. He wrote excellent books in Hebrew, translated to English, called Strive for Truth, well worth buying. He was actually a very great mystic. You can read some beautiful Kabbalistic ideas in his books that are very easy and clear to understand. If you're interested, Strive for Truth. And he says, there is an epidemic disease of world proportions that robs us of happiness. Our sages have already told us the answer. It says in the Mishnah, jealousy, unrelenting material desire, and status seeking or honor seeking remove a person from this world. They kill you. Kills you. Jealousy, constantly wanting material possessions just for the sake of having material possessions, and status seeking can remove from the world. Now, some people say, well, that means they upset you, they depress you, they frustrate you. It doesn't say that. It says they kill you. Remove from this world. And the literal, I mean, that's the expression used by the Moshe Adam Ad Olam. It takes a person out of this world. If it says that, they weren't speaking in hyperbole. They actually mean it. So how could that be? I want to share with you something which you may have heard about. Many of you are wearing and don't know why you're wearing. And let me explain to you why I believe it to be a real killer. First, on a basic idea, jealousy is not a good thing, because if you constantly want what somebody else has, you're never happy with what you have. So that's the basic idea, okay? And according to some opinions, just being jealous of a person's things, you're transgressing that commandment. Another opinion is buying something which they have just because they have it is also a form of jealousy, or trying to get their thing that they have is also a form of jealousy, okay? It could be a problem as well. Okay, but leave that aside for 1 second. I want to share with you why I believe it to be a killer. Has anyone heard of the concept in Hebrew called ayin hara? The evil eye? The evil eye. Now, many of you have bracelets that you bought for an extortionate amount of money with a little eyeball on a chain, which you're wearing. Anybody have that here right now? I'm sure we have one over here. Very, very good. So we have this little thing of the eyes. Now, it happens to be a lot of cultures have this idea of the evil eye. So what is it? Is it real? Let me be very clear with you. According to Judaism, it is very, very real. According to Judaism, it does exist. According to Judaism, it should be avoided. And according to Judaism, it is based upon this idea of jealousy. But it works in a very, even spiritual ideas work in very logical form. I heard from a great Kabbalist, I said to him, so what is the root of Kabbalah? And he said, it's logic. It's logic. Okay, I didn't know what he's talking about, but he knows his stuff. So here's an idea, and it's spiritual in nature, what I'm about to explain to you, but it is logical. It will make sense to you. So what's the idea of evil eye? So the evil eye, and where we see many instances in the Torah, right? We know that Joseph, right? Joseph did certain things. He wasn't affected by the evil eye. We know that Sarah was able to give the evil eye. We know that various people were affected by it. The Talmud says, you walk into most cemeteries, 90% of the people are there and dead because the evil eye has some effect upon them. Has anyone heard of this evil eye thing? Even look at, I think, Turkish Airlines, their emblem is a big eyeball, I believe, based upon this idea. So what is it? So it basically means jealousy, looking at what someone else has, right, and wanting it, or thinking, why do they have it, and why can't I have it? Okay? You see, the eye in Judaism is not just another organ. Okay? It's not like the ear. The ear is just an organ. It listens, it takes in information, that's it. You see, the eye in Judaism has an energy. What you look at can be affected just by the fact you're looking at it. And whatever that means, it means. But if you look at something, you put your eye on it, it can have effect. This is why the Talmud says, if you have a lot of money and you want to keep it, don't flaunt it. Go below the radar. If you're given blessing in this life, don't flaunt it. Now, does that mean you can't have a nice apartment, can't have a nice car, can't have a nice suit, right? Can't have nice makeup, shoes? Got trouble over there. Right, pocketbooks? Absolutely. But don't overdo it. Don't have the nicest apartment, don't have the nicest car, don't have these, and then put into people's faces. Why? Because you're going to stir jealousy in those people. So what? That's their problem, not mine. Well, actually, it's your problem too. Because when a person looks at you and feels jealous, something happens. What is that? They pray. You see, you can pray for someone else in a positive way, right? I can pray that Mina should be successful in her job. Is that a nice thing to pray for? I'm like, God, let Mina's Joy be successful. Make she find a nice, good, normal Jewish man. It's not a miracle. It is possible. And I pray she should have this and lots of good things. Is that a good thing to do? Am I doing a good thing? Absolutely. Right? Praying for yourself is very, very good. Praying for someone else is selfless and even better. It's a wonderful thing to do. Okay? And you should try to do it for other people. Actually, if you want to know the truth, be told, they say if you want your prayers to be answered, find someone, so Talmud says, very famous concept. And they learned out from Sarah and Abraham. It's a certain story in the Torah, not for now. But if you find someone who has the same problem as you have, or same thing that you want, pray for them, you get answered first. That is a Jewish concept. And it sounds selfish, but who cares? It's a win-win. But it works. Why? Why would that be? So there's a whole discussion. If I pray for someone, they're in my thoughts. I send the prayer upstairs, wherever it goes to, wherever it prays. There is a book that is opened, and it says, you know what, this person deserves it, and your prayer works. Sometimes the answer is yes, sometimes the answer is no. Okay? But if they do get answered, it kind of flows through you. Okay. There is a thing called negative prayer, and we're going to call it jealousy. And that is, why does she get that? Why does he get this, that, and that? Or why does she get a car like that? Now that, without you even realizing, is a negative prayer. Your eye has forced negativity out onto that person. That prayer goes upstairs somewhere to some spiritual realm, say the mystics, and there is a book that is opened. And they said, you know what? They deserve that. They use it for a good cause. They use their big, pimped-up BMW to do mitzvahs with. Okay? They use their big, fantastic apartment to do wonderful things with, and they use it for good. You know what? They get to keep it. They deserve it. They're being judged, and the answer is, they can have it. But let's say the book is opened. Let's say the IRS are checking the books, and they're like, you know what? They don't deserve it. They don't have enough merit to sustain that goodness, that blessing. They haven't given enough away. Heaven forbid, if that were to happen, that thing could be taken away. And the force that led to that judgment came from the eye, meaning it came from a person's eye of, why can't I have it? And another person can force it to be taken away. So people get worried when they hear this idea. And I would say, don't be. First of all, we learn an idea from it. What you have, be grateful for and use well. If God blessed you with wealth, health, ability to think well, run, have creative ideas, use a part of it for goodness. Okay? So other people rely upon you. Yeah? If other people rely upon you, then it won't be taken away, because it's not just you being affected, it's them as well. Okay? You have to earn the goodness that you have. Even if you have it, you have to earn the ability to maintain it. Also, surround yourself with good people. Make your friends into good friends, people who want the best for you. And you know who they are. You know the people who don't want the best for you. Right? And the final thing I already mentioned is just sometimes fly below the radar once in a while. Okay? So jealousy, and he's going to carry on this idea, is something that unfortunately destroys us as well. The world, page 4, we're going to finish in 2 minutes, as God made it, is a happy one. Ultimately, we are happy people. It is we who have removed ourselves from the world of happiness, the world of suffering, with these 3 desires. One being wanting more stuff. We need to run away from jealousy, material desire, instead of seeking, in order to transform the world into one brimming with happiness. You hear? Once again, you think globally, you act locally. And as the other source says, jealousy destroys peace of mind and happiness A jealous person's life is full of suffering and resentment. I have read such a great thing, by the way. A definition of resentment. What is a person who feels resent towards another person like? It's like a person who drinks poison hoping the other person will die. You get it? Resentment. It's like, this person's living rent-free in my head. Right? That's kind of where we are. That person is never happy with what they have. Right? There are many people who really could enjoy life, but they have one major problem. When they see that others are wealthier, happier, more successful, more attractive, more popular, they lose their peace of mind, you see. Focus on what others have rather than ourselves. And just to finish off, we'll finish with the Chazon Ish again. Oops, late. And he says, don't worry, be happy. Right? This idea of having faith in God, which brings us happiness, and the concept of trusting in God is the awareness that nothing happens randomly, that everything happens on earth for a purpose and a reason, and ultimately, that's hard to always see this, for a good reason. As he says in one of his letters, how wonderful is the fact that human beings can speak about their worries before God and just like spill it out. I tell people to do this all the time. Pray during a time of difficulty. You're meant to do other things as well, not just pray. You're meant to take steps, but that's one thing we do. We kind of let go of it and let God. That itself could be good. And finally, make others happy. There is a mitzvah to greet other people with a smile. Have makabel et kol adam b'sever panim yafot. It says in the words of Shammai, one of the great leaders, you should greet every person with a happy smile. So when I see Matan walk in this evening, I'm like, Matan. And actually, there's an unusual thing. My face in Judaism is not owned by me. Who owns your face? Everybody else. It's Reshut HaRabim, the public domain. Why do I say that? Because I looked at my face this morning when I woke up, washed my face, like, right? And then I just trim the excess hairs that are coming out of unfortunate places, right, on my head. And then I'm ready for my day. So I look at my face. But you guys, you've been looking at my face a lot more. So my face doesn't belong to you, it belongs to you. It's the public domain. Say the Torah sources, you're not allowed to have a sour face. You should greet every person happily, having a hard day. Don't ruin my day because you're having a bad day. Your face is going to affect me. It's an amazing thing. The only part of our body that we can't see. It's there for other people. It's like a gift for others, isn't it? It could have been our face, could have been the end of our hand. I could say, hey, how you doing? I'm feeling good. You know, like a sock puppet. It's not that way at all. It all comes from your face. So your face belongs to other people. So no matter how bad your day is, smile it out. It's a Jewish idea. Okay, and by the way, if you look at the story of Shammai, Shammai doesn't come over as the happiest person, right, compared to the other sages of the time. But this was his teaching. And if he taught it, he lived it. So even he who lived a strict life in terms of Judaism and dealing with people, he still gave us this law of having makabel, accepting every person with a smiling countenance. And says in the Gemara, Rabbi Yochanan said, one who shows the white of his teeth in a smile to another is better than one who gives him a glass of milk. You're doing more for your friend with a smile. And when a person is happy, he can bring life to other people. Most people are full of worries and troubles. It's true. If someone comes along with a beaming countenance, you can literally revive them. And this is a very great thing in Jewish thought. Fabulous. We're going to stop over there. Thank you all very, very much. We've reached the end of our course.